In this video, we're going to focus on how to create a speedometer with needle gauge chart. And you can see here what will happen eventually is that this speedometer will show you the values in here, and it will also have a nice needle based on the value that we have. And you can see the tooltip also recognizes the score of 25%. And this is a quite long topic here because it requires a lot of understanding of the canvas. But the result will be like this. So let's start and explore how to do this right now. In this video, we're going to focus on how to create a speedometer with needle gauge chart in Chart.js. So this question came from multiple people, and I understand that this is a very demanding topic. So first of all, let me show you. This came from one of my other videos about a Chart.js pie chart, how to create one. And here I got the question from David. And David DeWasmus said the following, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. This is what he was asking. Dear sir, I am now trying to find or make some kind of gauge graphic. Can you recommend one? Well, I'm going to show you how to create your own. And the same was here, was on my other video about how to create a heat map chart like GitHub commit, which is quite interesting as well, but very tough to understand that. And in here, Nilesh Kumar asked as well the same question, except in this case, please, sir, please make a video on React D3 plus D3 speedometer graph with needle. Alright, so I want to use React. I'm also not going to use D3. I'm going to use Chart.js. However, we're going to create one with the needle as well. And eventually I might go into Chart.js in React because I am interested in learning that part. I know that many people want this. Alright, let's start and work on this right now. So the first thing what we need is a default code here. What I would like you to do is first go to chartjs3.com, getting started, or that specific link here, and then here copy this chunk of code. Once you have this code, and if you would like to understand what this code does, please check out this video here. Paste this in here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to cut this out, put it in here. Save that, and there we are. So now we have our straightforward bar chart here, nothing fancy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to convert this into a pie chart. Or not even a pie chart, we're going to convert it into a donut chart, to be more specific. So in here, we scroll down here, we will say here, this will be donut. This is donut, and if we save this now, we have this. Alright, so what is happening here right now is because the width of this and the height is a square shape. A donut and pie chart has a square shape canvas. So that means that we need to adjust this. I'm going to adjust the size of this here. Instead of 700, we're going to set up 400. Refresh. Alright, so the next thing what I want to do is I want to remove these scales here. And this is the reason why it's quite challenging to explore how to use a pie chart and drawing on here. In Canvas, drawing on a canvas is already hard because you need to figure out the coordinates. And this is the real challenge here. In every other chart, there is a scale, so we can grab the scale. But for the pie chart and donut chart, there is no scale because it's basically a bar chart or a bar being shaped in a certain form. And that makes it really tough. So right now, here, this scales, I'm going to remove all the scales here. There you are. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the amount of items in here. So for the sake of it, we're going to first do some tiny adjustments in here. We say comma. And then we're going to make it a bit more appropriate. We can say here, cut out. That's just to make the thickness of our bar very narrow. So it will look more like a speedometer. So we say this here, and then we say 95%. Make sure you do it in a string. This is a new way how Chart.js 3 does it compared to Chart.js 2. Very important. So if we save this now, we can just save this for now. Now we have this nice item here. Alright, so the next thing what I want to do is I want to cut the circle in half, meaning that we want to not draw a full circle. We only want to draw from left to right 180% or 180 degrees. So we say here circumference, that's the right term, 180. And this is also a new feature in Chart.js 3, or at least not new, but it works now with 360 degrees instead of the math and the pi calculation. Alright, So we have this now. Now what we need to do is we need to move this. Basically, we need to go back here to this corner here, so it becomes look like a rainbow or a bow, to be specific. So what we need to do is we need to rotate it. Basically, we need to rotate it. We're going to rotate it, not, if we do 180 degrees, we'll be moving this, basically flipping it. But we need to do 270 degrees, so we start at this point here. So it goes from here, then it's so like that, and that here. Alright? So we say here, we say rotation. We can see here, if you do 180, you will see what happens. Now we flip it, alright, so we need to do plus 90 more to 70. There we are. So now we have this here, alright, so this looks very, very nice. What we could do here maybe is to give it a border radius, just to make it a bit more nicer. So we say border radius, oh, make sure that is capital R, radius, 5 pixels. And now we have these nice rounded items here, beautiful. So the next thing what we want to do here maybe is, well, we could extend the border width here. Alright. And then maybe we can give it a white color, just for the sake of it, so it will look a bit more nicer. Say here, this will be white, and then you will see that this will work nicely. Alright, so we have this now that looks quite nice. We can change the colors here as well, but that is fine. So what you could do here, like if it's a speedometer, I guess there's like 3 different colors. It will be red, yellow and green. So what we could do maybe is just do only 3 values here. Oh, I'm going to get, this is the red, this is the yellow, and this is the green. So I'm going to remove this one, that's the blue color, and then anything else here. Alright, so we're going to just get the only 3 specific values here. Save that, labels here, this could be removed as well. I guess we don't even need those, or well, minimal. Alright, so now we have this here, which is fine, and I guess here I would prefer to make this a solid color. There we are. So that looks beautiful. So what we're going to do now is basically draw the specific gauge, and this is very important here. And the drawing here, this is the real challenge here, and it took me really a lot of time just to figure out this part here. So we're going to draw this here, and where we need to start is if we're going to put the needles. Basically here we have a dot in the center, and then we have this needle here pointing whatever, depending on the certain value we have. And what we need to do here is create an extra value, which I would say this will be the needle value. So we say here needle value, and this needle value could be anything depending on what we have here. So we have this here, so if we would do this 12 plus that is 30, so we can say needle value is 30. It doesn't do anything here yet. So it doesn't do anything yet, but this will help us to point wherever we need to point on the needle or on this speedometer here. Alright, so what we're going to do now is basically the following. We're going to create a plugin. So in here you have the options, let's say comma, and then we say here plugins, and then we can say here gauge needle or gauge pointer. It's up to you, you can use anything you want. But make sure that these are in brackets here. Alright. So then what we're going to do here, slash, and then we say here gauge needle. Oh, that's my Bluetooth. So then we have our gauge needle block. So in our gauge needle block, basically what we're going to do here, we say constant, and then gauge needle as a constant, and then here we're going to say ID, and the ID equals, no equal sign, but colon, quotation, the gauge needle item. So basically these are together refer to each other. Alright, always be consistent with this. I prefer to do this as well because so you have all of these 3 here nice and consistent. Alright, so we have this comma, and then what we're going to do here is the following. We're going to figure out when would we like to draw this specific needle. We can say here probably the best would be after data set draw. Alright, so when we draw the data set, when the data set has been drawn, and after that we will draw the needle here. Alright, so this is based on layering. This is very important because I will show you later on with before and after, so you have an understanding of those. Alright, so then we're going to grab here certain values. I would say chart, arguments, and options. And then basically here, this is the chart values, the options. It grabs all these arguments and values in there. All right. And then we're going to say here it's constant. We're going to create a new constant. And this is very important here because basically this is a constant of an object destructuring. And what we're going to do here, we're going to break it down into certain items that we want within these variables here, with all these chart values. And we say here, first one will be ctx, referring to the canvas, comma, config, comma. What we could have as well is the chart area, and what we will be needing in the chart area in this case is, well, we can do here most likely well, I'll just grab them all. Left, what we can do is top, bottom, left, and right, which is the most common one. And then we have here as well the width, comma, height. All right. Once we have this here, basically we're done. We can say equal chart. If you've seen my other videos, you might say, where's the scales? Well, guess what? As I told you before, there is no scale in a donut or a pie chart. So that makes it really, that's the challenge here. However, don't worry, I solved that challenge, and now let's continue on. So once we have this, what we want to do here, we have this here, all right, and then we say here, we're going to say ctx.save. Basically, what we want to do is we want to save all of this data that we have and store it temporarily only for drawing this specific item here. So if you're wondering what is going on here, we can say here this, we can get here, for example, ctx. If I refresh, open up the developer tab, we get all of these canvas items here, everything what we need to know. And there's a lot more, of course, but these are the most important ones. Chart area will be important as well, etc., etc. All right. So the first thing what I want to do here is we're going to create basically the item. And if you want to create the item, we need to copy this, because think about it. How will the needle know if we have number 30 here? How would the needle know? It would be somewhere, well, I guess if this would be this plus that, all right, so it should be here. How will the needle know? It needs to know what is the total value of this bow. That's basically, or this, of the speedometer. So 0 up to whatever the value is, which is this here. All right, so that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to create here a constant, and we can say this is the data total. And this data total here, what we're going to do is very straightforward. We're going to grab the data sets, and from the data sets, we're going to work in here. And I realized that I forgot almost one. I should have here the data. Sorry. And the reason why we're doing this one here, because let me show you this, because we'll be needing the data set here. You can see here we get all of these values, we get the data set, we get everything what we need to know here, which is this here. And basically what we want to do is we want to reduce this. We are going to use array reduce to calculate this, or to sum the values in here. So let's do this right now. So we say here data total. And the data total here is basically the data. And you can see here, how do we get there? From data, data sets, 0, and then data. All right, so nothing fancy, just very straightforward here. We say here data sets 0, and then dot data. And then we say the following, we say dot reduce. And now we're going to reduce, we're going to reduce the value, a comma b. And here fat arrow function, saying for every a value we do plus b comma 0. All right. So we start at 0 and then we plus it consistently, so we have a loop until there's no more. So if we have this, then if we do now a console log, we should get a nice value of 30 plus. And refresh here, 36. All right, beautiful. 36 is here. That is correct. Nice symbolic number as well. All right. So we've got this now. So the next thing what we want to do then is basically we need to figure out the angle. And what we really want to do with the angle is to understand here. But basically what I need to do first is we need to grab this needle value. This value here, just put it in here. So how do we grab the needle value? If you understand here the data, and let's close this for now, or hide that one, and refresh. How do we get the needle value? Just pay attention here. We are in the data, and then we go to data sets, and in the data set 0, you can see here needle value number 30. So that's what we're going to grab here now. So we say constant needle value equals, and then we say the following here. Data sets 0 dot, then not data anymore, but we're going to get the dot needle. So we have this here, we can just double check to confirm, do we grab, or have we extracted the needle value? Number 30, which is correct. So if I would change it into, let's say 33, there we are. Alright, so we've got this nice. So the next thing what we need to do now is, once we have this, we need to start to calculate the angle. And the angle is basically based on how we're going to calculate here. Alright, because just think about it. Basically what we're going to do, when we have this needle line, the needle here, we're going to do two things at the same time. And I was looking into the cosinus and the sinus, basically the calculating of a triangle. And basically what we're doing here really is in triangle. But what we need to do first is, if we want to go to 33, and somewhere 33 might be somewhere here, our angle, we need to figure out our angle, and we also need to figure out the length of the line going from one side to the other side here. Very important. This is a very challenging item, but eventually we'll figure this out. So let's start and do this now. Alright, so what we need to do here is to create the angle. That's what we should do right now. So it's a constant, and then we say here, this will be the angle, equals, and then once we calculate that, we say equals math dot pi, because we're going to work with the pi. Sorry, pi must be pi. Alright, that's with capitalized pi. And then we say here plus, and what we're going to do here is we're going to calculate 1 divided by the data total, which is basically this one here, multiplied by the needle value, which is this one here, and then multiplied by math dot pi. Basically we need to calculate how many degrees there will be, and eventually this will be it. So we will calculate the official circle. This is quite complicated. I didn't make this even myself up, to be honest, because I was trying to search it and eventually I found something. But this is basically the formula. So once you have this formula here, we will get the needle value, or not needle value, we will get the angle. And the angle apparently would be here 6 degrees or something like that. I'm sure that there is something in it, to be honest. I am not really very good in these numbers. I just only understand that this is the one that we need. So what we're going to do next, and once we have this, is we're going to start to calculate the height and width of the chart. We have this here, or basically the height and width here, but this will be not the full answer what we need. Alright, so let's say here, first of all, if we're going to put we need to figure out where we're going to put the circle here. Alright, so well, what I'm going to do is, for the sake of it, I think it would be good to start drawing the dot first. So what we're going to do here is, I'm going to say here, let's see what will be the best item here to do. We're going to make here a ctx. Alright, so we're going to grab the ctx, and then we say here, we have the dot, and then we say here, begin path, and let's see if this one works. This is the biggest challenge here. And then we say here the ctx.arc, because that's what we want to do. We want to create a circle. And basically in here, what we're going to do now is, we have the arc, and then we need to calculate here the values. So we have here 5 values to be specific. So let's say here, let's put in a number here, 10, comma 10, comma 5 by 5 radius, and then we say here another 10. Alright, so we just have to, the goal here is just to get something to draw once it works. And we say ctx fill. Do we have any fill color? I realize that we might be missing a fill color, but that's alright. And then we say ctx.restore. Alright, I'm just checking my notes right now, because this is a quite challenging one. Then we have refresh. Alright, so we have this here. Oh, maybe I need to just put it on 0 so there will be no impact. Alright, so we have this here. We have this dot here. Where we need to put the dot here is here in the center. So we need to really calculate how to find the center. We might say, well, the easiest one would be just to say width. We're going to get the width here, and this first one would be indicating the width, so it's a width divided by 2. Alright, so now we are slightly in the center. So this might be, but what we need to do eventually is to make sure we have this calculated. Well, this one could be, I guess this is already done. So this is the first one. We could say here chart width, or the chart x. Alright, that will be this divided by 2. And this will be a constant. So we have this one here. The next one would be eventually, what would be the chart y? Basically here, we are going to grab the y position is basically down. But you might say, alright, so if we have the width and the height, all we need to do is grab the height here. And then, well, I don't know if it's divided by 2. Well, I know what it is, but it is not. So if I go here, oh, and then cy, going down here. Alright, so now it's becoming a challenge. How do we position here instead of down here? Because you might say, well, we have to calculate that, or divide by 2 maybe. And that's not it. And then you might say, well, we have to do minus 100. And that might not be it, and then you have to go deeper and deeper. And that is not what we want to do. And the reason why we don't want to do this is because if you keep on doing this, imagine someone else have a different size of the chart, you get a problem. Because we're working here with canvas, and canvas is a pixel-based calculation. So everything must be eventually in pixel coordinates from x and y. And this is why we have this here so far. But this is not the answer. And the reason why this is not the answer is because the positioning can be completely dynamic. We resize the chart, change the chart, whatever, it will be different. So what we need to do here is to calculate the cy value. To do this, we need to go here into the console log, or basically we have this angle here. I will just grab this one or borrow that. And then we say here the following. In the console log, we're going in the chart. Then you're going to get some new insights regarding to this. Alright, so we're going to look here for that, because what I need to do is I need to figure out how to match on this level here. And as I hover over it, you can see the items is being repeated consistently. So don't worry about it, it doesn't matter so much. Alright, so what we're going to look for is the following. We go here into chart, and then we go to underscore. We have to go here in the underscore meta sets, and then within here you will see we have a certain item that we need looking for, which is the data. Alright, so here in the data, then we have to search here specifically for a value, and that is this one here, sorry. Alright, so we have to look at the first value. And why is the first value? Because it starts here in the corner. This is the starting point. So it says here, what is the starting point? It says here exactly, well, apparently this is just 50% of the entire bow. So that's 200. So it draws from here somewhere to here. Alright, but this is the starting point here at the bottom. Or the ending point, depends on how you look at it. Basically, it starts here going up here. So this is what we need. So this specific point, and it's only on the first one here, it's a long way back. It's underscore metasets 0.data 0.y. Alright, so that's what we're going to do here. So dot underscore meta set 0. Remember, this is an array, so it's 0. And then say dot, and I have to double check, is a meta set with an S or not? Go back here, meta set in plural, so it's with an S. So it's underscore meta sets 0 dot, and then we say here data, and then we want the first value, which is the 0 in the array, dot y. Once we have this, we can save that one, and basically we could just copy this as well. You will see now, this is the value we need. There we are. So this is in matching exactly with that. Beautiful. So this is a real challenge, because you can see here, this is the canvas and there's no scales here. So we have to really dig into every part of it. Alright, so now we have this. So we've got the positioning here. So the next thing what we need to do now is basically start drawing the line here, or basically the needle. Alright, so I want this one here. So and then what I want to do, here is, well, what you can do here is above, so let me put it here. This is the dot, the needle dot. Now I'm going to put in the needle, and I want to put it here up. Needle. Alright, so for the needle, we're going to do a few tricky stuff here. ctx.translate, alright. And basically what we're going to do here is this. And the translate, although I'm not very familiar with Canvas, and I will be going deeper in this as well. But what translate basically does is to create a new starting point. So in our case, our starting point wants to be here in the center. Alright, so we say here cx, cy. Once we have this, we can now start to draw from that specific point. Alright, ignore this right now because it's basically what is happening now is counteracting on each other. And I guess what we could do here is just to undo this, is to go back here. Then we just say the following. Just above the begin path, we just put this in a negative value. So it will be back in here. And the reason why we're doing this, and this is the reason why we have this restore as well, it will basically undo everything. Yeah, that's basically what it does. Alright. So then what we need to do here, we're going to create a item here. So we're going to create a line height. So what I'm going to do in here is the following. We're going to say ctx dot begin path, and here the begin path we're going to start to draw because we have this default here. It will indicate that one. Alright, then we say here ctx dot move tool. Alright, so the move tool is basically the drawing where we want to move. So we say here 0, -2, and I'm going to show you later on why. Just have to make sure that the line is being drawn. And then what we're going to do here is the following. I guess we should have the line here as I'm going to draw this as well. ctx line 2. So we're going to indicate where this line 2 is going. Let's say height, 0. Alright, and then another one, ctx dot move tool. And this is the reason why we're doing this here part is the needle. We have a needle, we're making a needle, but the needle must be thick at the bottom and thin or 0 pixel at the very top. Alright, so that's why we're going to do this here. And this could be anything as well, but I'll just put it on height, or let's say 100 for now. Finally, we're going to give it a color. So we're going to say here ctx.fill style equals, and we can say here that one. Alright, so we have a grayish item here. So once we have this final one, ctx.fill, to make sure it works. Alright, so if I save this now, and let's double check everything. Do we have it? Is it being drawn? I don't see it anywhere yet, so let's put this on height, just for the sake of it. It's not showing yet. Alright. Oh, of course. What we need to do, and this is what the one I realized, we need to rotate the angle. We need to create the angle, and then we have to rotate that. So we say here, another part, ctx.rotate the angle. And now we should see something. Alright, I'm not seeing anything, so I'm just going to quickly check what's going on here. Alright, we had a tiny mistake in here, so pay attention. So we had here the move tool, and then we had the line tool, and then here I copied that one and did again a move tool. This is incorrect. So what we need to do here is use line tool as well. So the move tool is the starting point. Alright, so once we have this, and if I save this and refresh, you can see now we have this here. However, if I'm not mistaken, the line height here is based on the height, and if we would change the value from 33, let's put it on 18, you will see it will be a very long line. There you are. You can see now that is not what we want. So what we want to do here is to make sure that this is correct. So here comes the tricky part here, and this is why maybe you might watch this and say, well, wait, why is this height? Basically, this is related to the x value here. This is left to right, and this is top to bottom. But, and this is why this is so extremely tricky, when we start to rotate, we're doing something in here on the screen that is very, very hard to understand. It took me absolutely hours just to figure out how this really works and how to get it working. So what we need to do here is eventually, we're going to put, instead of here the height, we have to put in height values in here. But what we want to do is here, make sure that we cut it in half here. So because this is far too long. So what we need to do now is the following. Basically, we're going to measure, and this is what we need to measure. We need to measure here the bottom up to here. Alright? So how can we do this? Well, luckily there's some extra information that we can grab. So what we need to do here, I'm going to show you, we're going to go here to console log. We already have this one here, so then it's time for something else. So then we say here the following. We have here the console log, we say ctx, we're going to save that, refresh, and then we're going to search here in the ctx for the canvas. And in the canvas, we need to know basically where is the stopping point of this. And then what we need to go is here. We have to just check here very carefully. It's called the offset height top. There we are. This is the offset top. Basically, this part here is the space between, and that is the one we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate. We get the starting point here minus the offset top, and that will help us to calculate the official width, because here is still white space and we have no scales to compare. So this is the only way we do it. The first one we could do because of the starting point, but remember we cannot grab the top point here because this could be, if you have more values, it could be dynamic. And then you have a problem because you don't know what will be the very top of it. So this is one of the ways that we can start calculating our item here. So we say here, before we get there, is we go back to canvas. So how do we went there? Canvas. And then we say here, canvas offset top. Offset top. Alright. So once we have this here, if we refresh, we see we got this value. And now we can copy this specific value. And what we're going to do here is calculate. What we want to calculate here, basically, we have the height, or let's see, the height minus offset top. Let's see what will happen. Do we have the right value? There we are. We could, if you want, to increase it a little bit, because it's basically hitting here at the very top here. Because why is this height now like that? Well, we'll calculate minus this, and we have to calculate from the starting point here, because we have the translate here. So I hope you're able to follow along. So this is probably the most confusing one. This is the starting point, calculating this one here. Alright? So let's see here. If you would like to have a little bit of a top here, what we could do here is just to say plus, or is it minus 10 as well? So, or should I say here plus 10? Does it plus this one? There we are. So basically what you need to do is, this should be the correct way, plus 10. The reason why is we want to increase this amount here, so it will be deducted from there. Alright? The reason why is the negative is going up, while the positive value of the number goes down. Right? It starts at 0 and then etc. etc. Yeah, as I told you, Canvas is really a challenge for calculation. Alright, so now we have this here. So let's see. I told you about this one. This was about the width. Basically the thickness here. We want to start here with the thick, and then we go here basically to a 0 point, and then and back here. So if you want to understand this, we can do this. If you do this minus 20, what will happen? It will start to move on one side bigger. There you are. So that's basically a small extra explanation for the thickness, or how to create that needle. Alright, so now we have the needle here. And do we have everything? Does it point up correctly? I have a feeling like it didn't point up anymore as what I wanted. Oh. So let me check. What happened if I do -10? Alright, there we are. So that works. Apparently we have to do it like that then. Alright, doesn't matter. This here eventually will not change, because let's change here now our value, our needle value, and then make this 22. There we are. If we make this 36, it should hit the very bottom. Alright, and if we do this on 1, what will it do? We'll just go here, and if we put it on 0, it should be at the very bottom here as well. Alright, so we have now something that is starting to look quite nice. So what I want to do here, and this is the final item, and I will not work on the scales here, or at least where to position this. I will probably make a separate video for that. But what I do want to do is eventually, or let's see, do we have that correctly here? We have all these formulas correctly, the angle and the rotation. Alright, so what I want to do is, and that will be the next one, I want to make sure that we have the value shown here down. So that's what we're going to do here. That's the final item we should do. And then we say here the following. We're going to say here ctx.font. And then we say here the font, the amount of pixels in font, let's say 50 pixels, and the font family, Helvetica, or anything you want, sans serif, anything, doesn't matter. And then we say here, we're going to give it a color, ctx, and then we say here fill style. And our fill style here could be exactly the same as above. We just do that will be matching. And then what we need more is we want to have the text. Alright, so what will be the text here? Well, to be very clear, the text should be the needle value we have here. So we're going to grab this text here. And then what we want to do is we want to make sure that it will be in the center. So I want it just below here in the center, so we have nice needle value text. So I say ctx.fill text. Alright, and then we're going to say we want, what do we want to have? We want the needle value constant. Grab this one here, put it in here, and then what we want to do is we want to concatenate it. We can concatenate it, so we say plus, quotation, quotation, and then maybe percentage. And then after that comma, then we need to do here is to figure out where do we want to position it. In our case here now, we can just do the width divided by 2, which is basically the cx value. So you say cx, that is the width that we want, and then next comma will be eventually the how many pixels are going down. Well, we have this one here, basically, which will be this, the cy, but we want the cy and then minus, or sorry, not minus, but plus a x amount of pixels. I would say if 50 is here, so don't do 50 because it will be still attached here, but do 60, so 50 plus 10. So we say here plus 60 for now. So if we do this, and I save this now, refresh, alright, there we are. So now it's working. When you say, wait, it's not in the center, that's correct. The reason why it's not in the center is we didn't do text align center. Right now it's text align start at the point here, which is exactly what we want. And we could maybe do here, maybe 50, I guess. Should be do slightly higher, that's alright, doesn't matter so much, alright? So we have this one that I guess this should be more than sufficient. But then next what I want to do here is then to make sure that we have the text align, ctx.text align, then we say equal center. Once we did that, final one is to restore everything. So we want to don't save anything, because the reason here right now we're doing this, I realize, is because we have this one here and it grabs it, and then we have to undo this. But if we just restore it, it should work as well, because it's saving the data and it grabs the original data. And basically what we're doing, we're counteracting it by doing an opposite. But if I do this here, you see everything works fine. This is in the center, the dot was working. So remember, when I did this, the dot was suddenly gone. There you are. Alright, so this is basically what we did. That's why restore, very important, because restore will not only respond on whatever you draw here, but also on anything on the chart. If there would be later on, you would still have to draw some other items. Very important. So restore is not only for the needle specifically, or sorry, anything what you save here will be brought to the other items as well. So we need to always restore it. Alright, so now we have everything done here. I'm not yet done, to be honest, because let's look at this here. The tooltip here is right now not really what makes sense. We can hide the tooltip, we can hide this, or we can just indicate or rename the tooltip, and no matter where we go, we will always show only the 25% here. I guess you can hide the tooltip by default, but I want to just show you this extra as a bonus. So what we're going to do here now is the following. We're going to work with tooltips here. So we say options, and then we have plugins. Alright. Then in here, what we could do is say legend. Just for the sake of it, legend could be hidden. Display false, comma. And then what we have here is also tooltip. And then here we're going to use callbacks. And what we're going to do is we're going to rename the tooltip, or at least return the correct value that we want here. And what I want to do as well, maybe, is this should be as well. Let me just hide this for a minute. We can say here for the tooltip, y-align bottom. And the reason I'm doing this is basically, so the tooltip right now is going to the left. I want it to show at the very up. Alright, so you can see here now what is happening. I hide this, and now there's some readjustment here. So what I could do in here is that's probably what we need to do here. Maybe, or we remove this. Let's see what's going on. That would be better. Or we say here maybe +10. Just for the sake of it. So it makes it just slightly shorter. Alright. So you maybe do +20 would be better. There we are. +20 looks more better. Probably because the legend on the top had a certain space. Alright. And that's what we need to counteract on, because it's dynamically calculating on that. Alright, so now we have this final item. Final item is the tooltip here. Continue on. We have the tooltip pointing up now. So the next thing what I want to do here is this. I want to remove, if you highlight here, remove the color block, because this one has no value anymore. It should be just black. Or basically, it shows this here. There's only one value that you want to measure. So we don't need to have all these colors. So we say here as well, display colors with S. And you say here false as a boolean. Alright, so now we have this here. Now we're done, because if I save this now, refresh, no more colors. Alright, so now what I want to do is the following. We're going to say here, because we have this label here. The label shows Tuesday, Monday, etc., etc. No, I want this, and this could be a success tracker or anything else, percentage tracker, whatever. So we're going to give it a proper name for that. Or we show the score or the speed, anything you want. So we say here in the callbacks, label, and in this label here we're going to get a function, and this function here we're going to get tooltip item. So we're going to extract the tooltip item, comma, data and value, anything we want, but this one will be the one that we're going to work with. And basically here we need to get the following: console.log. And this console.log shows here. If I save this now and I want to hide the other console, we don't need this anymore. And we can reduce this as well. So if I save this, refresh, and the console.log for the tooltip here right now doesn't show anything because we don't have any return value. But at least the tooltip shows the console log shows when we hover, but the tooltip itself is blank. Don't worry about that, we're going to work on that. And what we want to do here is basically get here in the data set, if I'm not mistaken, then we have is it the data? No, sorry, this is the one we need. Data set, and we get the needle value in here. So how do we go here? From data set.needle value. Alright, this is interesting because we started here with the tooltip item. There we are. So we say here dot data set without the S, and then this. So if I refresh here now, number 25, no matter what I do. So anywhere I go, number 25. And then we say here return. And then we say here return. I'm going to use here template literals. Alright, so this means a backtick. We're going to use backtick here. The backtick is just below the escape button. And then what we're going to do here is basically grab this specific value here. And just for the sake of it, I will just say here const tracker equals that. Alright, so I say here, then we can say here tracker score equals, and then here $, curly braces, tracker, which is the constant, and then here percentage. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's easier to do, so we don't have to do plus concatenation. This is another way to concatenate the ES6, which is better or faster. Alright, so I'll refresh here now. Now we have this, and there we are. So we have now our tracker score 25%. It shows everything here. So this is how you can create your speedometer gauge chart with Chart.js. It's a long part, and there's still items that we should do. Maybe you can see here there's still items missing about what about the values here, that we can put numbers in the speedometer. That might be a suitable video for another day or another time, because this video has become quite long. However, this is one of them that I highly recommend you to follow along. Next, if you are interested in this, maybe you would like to know more about tooltips as well, because we have here something that maybe you want to go really deep. I have here a specific video that's just a warning, it's 20 minutes, but it covers every possible item and customization in the tooltip. It goes in every feature in the tooltip. Highly recommend to do that one, or to learn that if you want to customize your tooltip from top to bottom.